Amaka walked down the village street, her newly acquired feminine curves swaying like a pendulum, casting a spell over every man she passed. Their eyes widened, jaws dropped, and some even forgot to breathe, standing frozen like statues, as if Amaka had hit them with a powerful charm. One man, completely transfixed, stumbled into a yam seller's cart, toppling it over and causing a cascade of yams to rain down on him. Another, so entranced, accidentally sat in a puddle, oblivious to the laughter of those around him. How did this magical transformation happen? Sit back and enjoy the hilarious tale of Ryan, his conniving wife Amaka, and their mischievous twin sons Eli and Charles. In the ancient kingdom of Umedike, wealth was the true measure of a man. For the poor, it seemed that God had not deemed them fit for blessings. Living in a small mud hut, Ryan, with his wife Amaka and their twin sons Charles and Eli, was the village laughingstock. While the men of Umedike hunted expensive game and cheated in trade for cool cash, Ryan, a simple subsistence farmer, did neither. It wasn't out of integrity but because the mere thought of taking risks or dealing with stress was something he avoided at all costs. Amaka, on her part, never hesitated to lambast her husband for their miserable state. She often grumbled, "If only I had curves like my sister Nechi, I would have married a rich man instead of you and your lizard belly." But alas, her plain figure meant no wealthy suitor ever came calling, leaving her stuck with Ryan. Her twin sons Eli and Charles were no better. At just 10 years old, they were already little terrors, stealing and making noise all over the village. Even they made fun of their parents' poverty. "Papa, why are we so poor?" they would tease, much to their father's dismay. Ryan could only sigh in response, knowing that in a village full of cunning traders and daring hunters, he was the odd man out. One fateful day, as Ryan wandered through the village, he stumbled upon an old blind man sitting by the roadside holding a handful of coins, some gold, some silver. The old man cried out for help, asking someone to separate the coins for him. The villagers, being the sharp and dubious lot they were, took advantage of the man, pocketing the gold and silver coins and leaving him with worthless copper. When the blind man called out to Ryan, something strange happened. Without thinking twice, Ryan dutifully separated the coins, handing the gold and silver back to the old man before turning to leave. "Wait," the old man called out. As Ryan turned around, he was shocked to see the old man's eyes were now clear and sharp. The man laughed heartily at Ryan's wide-eyed stare and revealed that he was no ordinary man but a spirit ancestor testing his descendants. "Since you were honest with me," the old man said, "I will grant you 7 wishes, one for each day over the next week. But be warned, you can't wish for more wishes, nor can you wish death upon another." Before Ryan could respond, the old man vanished, leaving him standing there stunned. Ryan ran home as fast as his legs could carry him, bursting through the door of their little house, gasping for air. Amaka, who was busy preparing dinner, looked up in surprise. "What is wrong with you? Have you finally gone mad?" she asked, hands on her hips. "I met an old man, a spirit ancestor. He gave me 7 wishes." Ryan blurted out, his voice a mixture of excitement and disbelief. Ever the skeptic, Amaka retorted, 7 wishes. If you had any sense, you'd wish for wealth or a bigger house. Or better yet, wish for a big stomach like all the successful men in this village. I'm tired of looking at that lizard belly." At first, Ryan tried to brush her off, but Amaka, relentless as ever, kept pestering him until he caved in. To get back at her, he angrily said, "Okay. Then I wish for a big belly. No sooner had the words left his mouth than his once flat stomach ballooned out, growing large and round like a drum. Both husband and wife stared at the miraculous sight in shock. "You foolish woman, you made me waste a wish on this belly," Ryan cried, clutching his newly expanded stomach. "So, it's true," Amaka shouted back, her eyes wide with astonishment. "And you, big fool, you wished for a big belly instead of something useful." As they argued angrily, their twin sons, Eli and Charles, wandered in from outside. Seeing their father's absurd new figure, they burst out laughing. "Papa, what happened to you? Did you swallow a pot?" Eli teased, while Charles doubled over in laughter. Thus, in typical fashion, the first of Ryan's 7 wishes was wasted on nothing more than a belly full of trouble. As the night deepened, Ryan lay on the tattered mat, tossing and turning like a restless fish out of water. His newly acquired potbelly was as uncomfortable as it was ridiculous. Meanwhile, Amaka paced around the small mud hut, her mind spinning like the tongue of a village gossip. She wasn't thinking about the burden her husband carried, but instead plotting how she could use the remaining 6 wishes. Yes, in her mind, the wishes were hers, not his. After all, she mused, who else but me should decide how to spend these blessings? She had always dreamed of having a curvaceous figure like her sister Nkechi. While Amaka's figure was straight and plain like an abandoned yam stick, Nkechi was well-shaped, attracting suitors like flies to food. Amaka envisioned herself with the curves of a goddess, but while she fantasized, Ryan groaned like a goat in labor, his bloated belly making sleep impossible. Very early the next day, unable to bear the discomfort any longer, Ryan used his second wish. "I wish for this big belly to disappear," he roared. And instantly, his belly shrunk back to its usual pitiful size. Relieved, he sighed. But his relief was short-lived. The moment Amaka noticed that the belly was gone, she flew into a rage. "You useless man," she screamed. "You wasted another wish, you empty-headed yam. Now we have only 5 left." Her voice was so loud that the twins rushed into their parents' room to find out what was happening. Just as they entered, Amaka threw a pot at Ryan's head. He ducked, but the pot instead smashed into Eli's head. The boy crumbled like a wet rag and fell into a coma. Panicked, they rushed him to a native doctor, but his efforts were as effective as pouring water on a stone. Eli remained almost lifeless. The next morning, with a heavy heart, Ryan used his 3rd wish. "I wish for my son to recover." Instantly, Eli sprang back to life, but Amaka was furious. "Ryan, you've wasted yet another wish," she fumed. "We could have waited for him to recover on his own, but no, you had to play the hero and spend yet another wish." "How can you say that?" Ryan yelled. "Our son was half dead because of your foolishness, and now you're complaining. What do you want from me, Amaka? What exactly do you want me to wish for next?" Without missing a beat, Amaka replied, "I want to be the most curvaceous woman in the whole village of Umidike, so all the men will admire me." Ryan looked at his wife with disgust. "Vanity upon vanity," he muttered. "Tomorrow morning, you'll wake up with your wish granted so you can finally leave me in peace." Boldly, though only 10 years old, Charles said, "So, Mama, our poverty doesn't disgust you. Instead of wishing for riches, you want to waste a wish on feminine curves." "It's none of your business," Amaka snapped. "And for your information, I have plans for the remaining wishes. First, I wish for all the gold coins in the world. Then, I wish for Nkechi's death, that foolish sister of mine who mocks me for being flat-chested. Finally, I wish for long life. Wow, Mama, Charles said, amazed. I thought Papa was the one with the wishes, but it seems you've hijacked them all. Papa, are you going to just sit there like a carved Iroko tree? When will you be a man and make decisions for yourself? Annoyed, Amaka knocked her son's head. Shut up and don't talk when elders are speaking. I will talk, Charles retorted. You almost killed my twin brother, and now you want to waste the remaining wishes. The two bickered like quarreling dogs until Ryan, fed up, shouted in frustration, I wish you two would just shut up. And just like that, Amaka and Charles's lips sealed tight as if glued together. They were rendered completely mute. Ryan had mistakenly used his wish in anger, and now he was filled with regret. The next morning, realizing his mistake, he sighed heavily. I wish their lips would unseal, he muttered, using up his fifth wish. Instantly, their lips became free, and they could speak again. Amaka wasted no time. You big-headed fool, she yelled. Do you see what you've done? Now we have only 2 wishes left. Ryan shook his head in despair. 2 wishes left, he echoed. And at this rate, I might not live to see them through. Amaka waited until the day was about to break. Her heart pounded with determination as she quietly slipped out of bed and tiptoed to the kitchen. She placed a sharp knife in the burning fire, watching the blade turn red hot. The dim light of the flames flickered ominously on her face, reflecting the white glint in her eyes. Noticing her husband snoring softly in his sleep, she crept back to his side, her breath shallow and her grip tight around the heated knife. She held the scorching blade close to his eyes and hissed, I will burn this figure and terminate you if you don't wish for what I want. Ryan's eyes flew open in terror, his heart racing as he stared at his wife's crazed expression. He stammered, trying to find words, but Amaka silenced him with a sharp look. Just make a wish, she demanded, her voice low and threatening. Fine. I wish my wife, Amaka, would have the best feminine figure, and men will admire her. Ryan muttered, shaken with fear. No sooner had the words left his mouth than Amaka's figure transformed. Her once plain shape became curvaceous and desirable. Her waist was slender, her hips full. She looked down at herself, a wicked smile spreading across her face as she admired her new body. Now, she said, her voice dripping with malice, make another wish. Wish for my sister Nkechi's death. Ryan, though still trembling, managed to keep his voice steady. You have to wait until tomorrow. Remember, it's only 1 wish per day. And are you so wicked that instead of wishing for money to save this family from poverty, you are wishing for death? Amaka glared at him. Of course I wanted money, but it was a fool like you who kept wasting the wishes. So I resolved to use the remaining ones smartly, one for a fine figure and the other for my sister's death. With this fine figure I have now, I will dump you and marry a rich man. So, you see, I am smart. Ryan sighed deeply. You fool, you cannot kill anyone with the wishes. You cannot wish for more wishes, that's what the old man told me. It's a lie. Amaka snapped. I want my sister dead. Well, you'll have to wait until tomorrow, Ryan said calmly, though in his mind, he had fully resolved to wish for a huge pot of gold first thing in the morning, no matter what. Amaka stood in front of the mirror, admiring her new figure. Her twin sons walked in and froze, their eyes wide with shock at their mother's transformation. They quickly realized what had happened. "Dad, we have an idea," Eli said urgently. "What is it?" Ryan asked. "You should use your last wish to wish for more wishes." Ryan smiled wearily. "You cannot wish for more wishes, my children, and you cannot wish death on another." "You liar!" Amaka shouted from the mirror, still admiring her new shape. "Tomorrow morning, you will use the last wish and wish for my sister's death." Exchanging glances, the twins moved closer to the exit door. They couldn't hold back anymore and began to lambast their mother. "Mama, you are so foolish," Eli cried. "You wasted all the wishes. Instead of wishing for money, you wished for this nonsense." Amaka, oblivious to their words, finished her makeup. Smiling at her reflection, she catwalked out of the house, heading into the streets to be admired by the village men. Her walk was slow and deliberate, her hips swaying with every step. Her new curves drew the attention of every man she passed. Eyes widened, jaws dropped, and whispers filled the air. Amaka enjoyed the envious and admiring glances of the villagers. But as she walked down the street, the twins were leading their father to a hidden location to prevent Amaka from manipulating the last wish. The twins wanted their father to use the last wish to bring bags of gold and money, but as they walked, Ryan's eyes fell on his wife. She was surrounded by men who were staring at her lustfully. Anger began to boil within him. All the pent-up frustration and humiliation he had endured because of her came rushing back. He remembered the wasted wishes, the arguments, and the disrespect. The twins noticed their father's growing agitation and tried to drag him away, but they were too small to move him. Out of sheer frustration and spite, Ryan shouted, "I wish my wife would be a huge fat woman right now, and as she fattens, her old flat figure will return." The words had barely left his mouth when a loud, unladylike fart echoed through the streets. Everyone froze in horror as the sound seemed to reverberate off the walls. The villagers, who had been admiring Amaka just moments ago, burst into laughter, pointing and jeering. To Amaka's utter dismay, her newly acquired curves began to deflate. Her body shrunk back to its former flat shape. Humiliated, Amaka ran home, tears streaming down her face as the mocking laughter followed her. The twins stood in shock, realizing their father had wasted the last wish. Ryan, now overcome with regret, walked to a lonely bush and sat down. Tears flowed freely as he cried bitterly, chastising himself for letting his emotions get the better of him. As he wept, the old man who had given him the 7 wishes appeared before him. The old man's eyes were filled with wisdom as he spoke. "Your name means little prince, so my son, God will bless you in due time. You are a good man, but you need to brave up. Go back home. Be strong and handle your family like a man. Your wife has learned her lesson, and if you stand your ground as a man, she will start to respect you. Do not give up. Honesty always pays. You don't need wishes to succeed in life, all you need is hard work and tenacity." With those words, the old man disappeared, leaving Ryan alone with his thoughts. Slowly, he wiped his tears, and a new sense of resolve washed over him. He stood up, straightened his shoulders, and began the walk back home. He knew he had made mistakes, but he also knew he could be a better man. He remembered his late mother's words. "Ryan, my son," she would always say, "strive to be a better man every day." With the thought of his mother's love and the belief she had in him, Ryan stepped forward, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. He resolved to build a better life for his family through his own strength and determination. Enjoyed the story? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Echoes of Africa on YouTube for more amazing folktales like this one. See you in the next story.